Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is learn how to hide and unhide columns and rows. Now, in some cases, you may want to create a spreadsheet that's got data that you want to be part of the spreadsheet, but you don't want anyone to see it, maybe because it's a cell that is critical to a calculation in the spreadsheet, and you don't want anyone to fool with it accidentally. You can hide a column or a row, and you can even hide an entire worksheet. So to do that, you would come over here, and for example, if you wanted to hide column I, you would right click on the column heading for column I, and then you would select hide columns, and then that column goes away. Now, if you'll notice here, you go from column H over to column J. It's because column I has been hidden. And you would do the exact same thing with rows, where you would right click on the row header and you would go to hide rows, and it goes from 1 to 3. Okay? Now, you can hide multiple rows and multiple columns at the same time, but since that's not really part of this completed worksheet, I'm going to unhide both of these by basically repeating the process where I'm going to right click on column H in this case, and I want to go to unhide columns. And actually what I've got to do is I've got to select H and J. And again, this is one of those things that sometimes it just works different on the online version compared to the desktop version. If I select H and J and go to unhide columns, it's going to unhide every column that's hidden in between H and J, which it's only column I. And then I do the same thing over here with column 2. I select 1 and 3, right click it, and go to unhide rows. And now that row 2 is back. You can also hide an entire worksheet by right clicking on the worksheet tab and selecting hide. And as you see here on sheet 2, there's some data for additional activities that we may be completing. Or maybe it's that these cells right here are parts of the formula that's on sheet 1. So what I want to do is right click down here, and I want to go to unhide. And here it's going to open up this window and ask you what sheet do you want to unhide. Well, the only one that we've got hidden is sheet 1. So we would click OK, and here is sheet 1 again. And again, these things that I just showed you, they are skills that are on the certification exam, and they also, it works pretty much the exact same method on the desktop version of Excel. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to continue formatting this worksheet by applying colors, patterns, and borders. So what we're going to do is we're going to select cell A1, and because we have merged and centered this together, it spans across column A, but that is still cell A1. And what we want to do is we want to use a fill color. Now the fill color is here under the Home tab and under the font group, and it's this icon right here that looks like it's a paint can. And if you click the arrow next to it, you will get additional colors that you can see. Now the text I'm using calls for a specific shade of turquoise accent 2 color, and turquoise is kind of a bluish green, and I'm not sure that we're going to have that on the online version, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. So instead, I'm just going to pick this shade of light blue. Actually, I'm going to pick this shade of blue. And again, remember in this lesson, you're learning how to do things. We're not necessarily looking for specific colors and shades and things of that nature. Okay? So the next thing that we want to do is we want to put in we want to change the fill. We want to change the fill pattern of this cell if it'll let us on the online version. So I'm going to click this arrow again. And actually in the online version, it's not going to let us do that. There would be more options on here where you could actually go in and put in a little bit of of a pattern that would further change the appearance of this cell, but we can't do that here on the online version, so we're going to skip that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a border to this cell. Now right here is your border button, and if you click the arrow, you're going to see the different border styles that are available to you. And you can also change the border colors even if you wanted to, in the border styles. And you know, I think for the sake of making this stand out, because I've picked this shade of light blue, I just want to pick red as my border color. And now I want to come up here and go to, I want to find thick bottom border, which is this one right here. And you can tell it's the thick bottom border because it's thicker and darker, and it would appear on the bottom row of the cell that you have selected. So I'm going to click on this cell, and now if I click off of it, you see that we now have that red thick bottom border. And of course you could have also changed the style. You might have noticed that that was one of our options, where you could change the style or the appearance of the border if you had wanted to. But again, these are your different border options, and these are going to be based upon the cell or cells that you have selected. So change the style and the color first. Actually select the cell you want to format first, cell or cells, then make sure you've got your border color and style, and then you can apply it wherever you want. Now something else that you can do is you can go to, and we're going to change the font of this text as well. So we'll click on cell A1 again. I actually want to select cells A3 to H3. A3 to H3. And I'm just going to use my mouse to do this one. And what we want to do is we want to change the color, the font color. So we want to change the appearance of the color. Now here's your font color button right here. And you would want to make this stand out in some way. And again, we're just learning how to make the changes. We don't necessarily care what this looks like. We're just learning to make the changes. And what we're going to do is I'm going to come over here and find something. I guess I'm just going to go back with red and make it, because it stands out so well. We pick that, and again, that's how you would change the font color. Now, one other thing, the next thing I'm going to show you would definitely be on a certification exam if you end up taking that exam, and it is applying a cell style. And a cell style is a pre-designed format that is built into Excel that you can apply to text. So what we're going to do is we're going to select J1 to K1, which is the cells over here that has the sales tax rate and the actual rate. So it's got the label and the actual rate on it. And we want to come up here under the sales styles group, which is under the tables group. And you've got all these pre-designed color styles that are built in here. And they want us to pick one called a neutral cell style. And you'll see that these have labels on them. Now again, I don't see anything in here that's called neutral, that's labeled a neutral cell style. Now, oh, there it is. It's right here. And so you could go click it. And again, this is one of those things, I'm using a book that's rather old. And the objectives are the same, but some of the settings may not be, and some of the names may not be the same on the version you're using. But basically, you could have applied any of these cell styles to these cells, and this is what it looks like. And again, applying cell styles is something that it would be on a certification exam. You would want to make sure that you kind of become familiar with some of these different cell style names, just like I had to become familiar with neutral, because I can't always say that I'm always looking for a cell style called neutral. They might tell you to apply the heading 1 cell style, or the title cell style, or to format something as a total, which commonly the last row in a table is formatted using this cell style. And we may come back and do that here shortly. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to apply what's called a conditional formatting. And a conditional formatting is where a cell is formatted based upon the values that are inside that cell. So again, it's a whole lot easier to help you to understand this by demonstrating it, which is the whole purpose of this video to start. So what we want to do is we want to select cells H4 to H30. Now again, I want to use my name box, H4 colon H30. And remember, if you hit the enter key, what that's going to do, it's going to make it easy to select large ranges quicker. And on a certification exam, you only get 50 minutes to complete it, so anything that you can do to save time helps. So what they want us to do is they want us to come up here under the Home tab still, and under the Tables group, we've got this button called Conditional Formatting. And you've got all these different pre-designed categories that you can select that will format cells based upon the contents of the cells. And what they want us to do is to use this one called data bars. And the one I'm looking at, they want us to apply a light blue data bar. Now, it might be this one, and it is. And again, I thought it might not be because again, we're using the online version, and the resource I'm using is based upon the desktop version of another year even. So this is the one they want us to pick, and basically what it does is it takes the numbers in the cells and it kind of arranges them, if you will, low to high. And for example, down here, this is the largest number here, 8156.25. So because of that, that entire cell is filled with a data bar with this coloring. And the smallest number in here, which is apparently $33.44, there's actually two of those. Those have nothing in them because those are the smallest number. So it's giving you a method of a quick visualization of finding the numbers largest to smallest or vice versa, and helping you to easily identify them. Similar to what we previously learned using the max, min functions and even the average function. So that's what conditional format does. So let's add some more of these. We want to go this time, and we want to select F4 to F30. And actually, let's do this. They actually want me to change this one now, the one that's still selected, H4 to H30, and they want us to change that to from the blue to the green data bar, this one. And if you do that, all that does is it changes the colors. Now we want to go to F4 to F30, and again, I'm going to go to the name box, type in F4 colon F30, and note that these are not case sensitive, so I could use lowercase f's. And now what I want to do is I want to highlight the cell rules. So I want to come over here under conditional formatting and highlight the cell rules, and I want to select between. So what this is going to do, it's going to allow me to put in two values, and it's going to automatically highlight all the numbers that fall in between this range. So it wants me to put in 2,000 and 4,000. Okay, now you've got a couple of different options. By default, you get light red fill with dark red text, but you've got some other options that you can select. And you can even, now on the desktop version, you can customize this to make it look exactly the way you want. Here, you're limited in the online version. So you can select green fill with dark green text and then click OK, and then you see exactly what happens with the cells that are in between 2,000 and 4,000. They have a light green fill with a dark green text. So now if you come down and they tell you to go to cell F7 and click in it, and basically they want you to change this number to 3975.55, and then watch what happens. 3975.55, and when I hit enter, notice how the appearance of this cell changes because it now meets the condition of being below that in between that 2 and 4,000 range. Now you could go back and delete these conditional formats later at a different time. If you wanted to go back and click conditional formatting, you can go to manage rules, and here are the rules that have been created. And you can delete any of these. You could hit delete all, or you could click on these individually and delete them. This little trash can. And this definitely looks different on the desktop version of Microsoft Excel, when you would go in and how you can manage these rules. And on the desktop version, you could actually change the order of these, and in some cases you would want to put multiple conditional formats on a cell, and it kind of looks like maybe you cannot do that in an online version. So again, that's one of the differences that you would have. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come back, and remember earlier I told you one of the other styles that you could put in would be a text, a total style. So what we want to do is to select these cells A30 to H30, and then go back under the Home tab and go under the Tables group, and again click Cell Styles, and then here you can click the total button. And what that's going to do is at the top of row 30, it's going to put a single line, and at the bottom of row 30, it's going to put a double line. And that is something that is common to the accounting world. So if you ever take an accounting class, you'll hear that that you'll have to do that, because a double underline means that the numbers have been checked and verified. And actually, I told you to put that in the wrong place, and that's actually perfectly okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back up here and click the undo button, and I should have put that right here on the cells in A32. So I'm going to select D32 to H32, and I want to go back and add that cell style for totals. And that's the way it would normally look. And in most cases, you wouldn't have a blank row here. It's certainly okay to leave it in this case, because maybe in reality you would want to add additional information to that. And if you did that, it would make you would still have to come and recalculate these formulas right here. It just may be easier to read with having this blank line here. I'm going to delete it, because for me, I'm old school. I'm going to delete this entire row 31, and this is what I'm used to seeing. Again, I'm not quite sure why you would have a blank line in there, a blank row, so we just deleted that. And again, please remember, all these skills that you're learning here are valuable skills that may show up on a certification exam if you ever take it. And if you don't ever take a certification exam, they're still great skills to know. And as I've gone through this, you've noticed that I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've had to hit undo a few times and things of that nature, because you undoubtedly will make mistakes, and you will need to know what you can do to correct those mistakes. So that's why I don't act like that I have all the answers as I go through these videos. I'm showing you how to correct mistakes. So earlier we looked at these other sheets down here, and here's a sheet 2, and here's a sheet 3, and here's a sheet 1. So sheet 3 is blank. Sheet 2's got a little bit on here. Sheet 1 we've been working with most of this time. And we want to double click this sheet 2 tab, and when we do that, it gives us an option to rename a sheet. Now this is something that may show up on a certification exam, and we want to name this budget, and then click OK. And so that allows us to rename this sheet. And then next thing we want to do is we want to change the color of this worksheet tab to make it stand out, make it easier to identify. So I want to right click this budget tab. And by the way, notice how I've got an option down here to rename. So I could have also right clicked and gone to rename and done what we just did. But you could also change the tab color. And they want us to use a shade of green. So it's actually a bright green. So I'm going to just pick this one up here. And when you click off of that, you're going to be able to see, especially when you go back and click a different worksheet tab, you would really see how that sheet is has the shade that we just picked. So now what we want to do is to rename sheet 1, and we want to name it as actual. So you can right click it and go to rename, or you can double click it as I just did and hit the enter key on your keyboard, or you can click OK. And what we want to do is to change this one. We want to change the color of it. And really you can pick any color, but I want to pick this yellow gold color right here. And then when I click off of it, you'll see how these really stand out. Make them easy to identify. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is we've got this blank worksheet here that really serves no purpose, and we don't want it here. So we want to delete this worksheet. So you can right click on sheet 3 and go to delete and click OK. Now, by the way, in this version, you get this warning that says you can't undo deleting sheets. So, if you accidentally delete a sheet, it's gone. So they're giving you a warning here, and you should get some similar message on the desktop version of this. So I want to click OK, and now sheet 3 is gone, but sheet 3 was blank and it didn't have anything on it to start. That is it for the basic formatting of workbooks and worksheets. If you have any questions, please feel free to review any aspect of this lesson or ask your instructor.